we spent the day moving further into the very badly affected regions of Lushan County and then into Taiping County. And we woke up at about 4 o'clock this morning with a big aftershock. And there have been lots of those going on today. We drove into the disaster zone, and we drove through lots of villages, and as we sort of got further and further into this mountainous region, the destruction got worse and worse. And the final village that we reached was called Shengli, which had been very, very badly hit. At least 4 people dead, from what I understand, and rescue workers said it could have been much, much worse because many of the houses were absolutely destroyed. Roofs had caved in, houses had been torn open. The 4-story school had a big puncture mark in its wall. Obviously, it was a Saturday when the earthquake hit, so fortunately there were no children inside. But otherwise, that could have been very unpleasant. Lots of injured at the hospital. About 160 people have been taken into the hospital with various wounds. One of the doctors there told us they were mostly crush wounds, head injuries, back injuries, leg injuries from falling debris, falling pieces of wood. A lot of the houses are old wooden houses, and they just crumbled when the quake struck on Saturday morning. So very depressing scenes there. One villager we met, he took us to a sort of improvised grave that villagers had dug for a young lady who had been killed when her house collapsed, and her body had just been laid under a tarpaulin on a cabbage patch overlooking the village, and was obviously waiting for a proper burial at some point in the future. But at the moment, I think that the people there are just worried about getting through these days. People are so scared of the aftershocks, and there are so many of them. We experienced, I think, 5 or 6 today, that I would say nearly 100% of the 2,000 or so residents of Shangli have moved into the streets. So even if their houses have not been completely destroyed, they're now camping out in tents under tarpaulins. There are huge numbers of military now. I think there are something like 18,000 troops who have been mobilized, and many of them are operating in the region that we have been spending time in over the last couple of days. One of the big problems they have is logistics. There is basically only one road into the region we've visited, and it's a very narrow road that really you can only get one car. It's a one-lane highway. So when you have lorries and buses trying to get aid in, and you have ambulances and cars trying to get victims and sort of refugees out, it becomes very tricky. I mean, we spent hours in traffic jams today trying to get to where we were going. There are lots of boulders in the roads, so it's very, very tricky. They've been using helicopters, but obviously you can't do everything by helicopter, and the sheer number of troops they're trying to get in to help the victims is too large for that. So logistically, it's a big problem.